You know, these storytime videos, people have told me they're pretty sad, and that I don't do a lot of happy stories. And this is not going to be an exception to that rule. This one's going to be pretty sad. So if you're not interested in hearing about that, I'll just catch you next video. Why don't you go on? But today I want to talk to you about the events of September 11th, 2001, which I'm sure everyone knows was the day of a terrorist attack here in the United States that resulted in about 3,000 deaths. And
in reality,
compared to the terrorist attacks that have taken place throughout the world
in just the past 25 years,
it's not even that large by comparison, but it's very visible because America has always been very visible, and it's very highly spoken of. Many people feel that it's one of the worst tragedies. It's not. It's a terrible tragedy, don't get me wrong, but certainly worse things have happened across this great globe of ours. Some people celebrate it as a victory. Some people, there's a lot of buzz about it. There's a lot of talk about it. And we here in America certainly remember it with a heavy heart and with a great sadness. And I want to talk about why. But first I want to tell you how 9/11 personally affected me. In 2001, it was a bad year for me. I had some financial issues. My small business was failing after that .com bubble burst. A lot of web design, I couldn't get it very much work. And I was used to spending money a certain way, so I just didn't have it. And my father was diagnosed with terminal cancer that year, and he died at the end of August 2001. So we drove home to take care of him, and I spent what little money I had in the bank to help take care of my family. And we buried him on September 6th, 2001, in a military funeral in Kingsport, Tennessee. We put him in the ground there for the where they bury veterans. And we traveled home. I traveled home and was in bed for about a day before waking up to the attacks of 9/11. And I want to say here that I was fortunate because none of the people that I knew or loved were in that 3,000 that died that day. None of the people I knew or loved, none of my family members had to go off to fight those wars. So my impact from 9/11 was very, very small. And I guess for that I'll always be grateful, you know. But it was also a really hard time because I was sleeping that morning trying to forget how hard it was to bury my dad, how hard it was a complicated situation between me and my father, and that's another story for another time. Leaving my mother there alone, even though she begged me to stay, begged me to move back home, and having to go back to where I lived and take care of myself. And that morning I got a phone call from a friend who didn't have cable, didn't have a television in his home, and he said, "Steve, I think I've heard about a terrorist attack on the radio, but I think the DJ might be pulling my leg. Could you turn on the television and tell me what you see?" He said a plane hit the World Trade Center. I think he's making stuff up. So I turn on the television and I'm on the phone with my friend, and as I'm watching, I'm telling him what I'm seeing, I'm telling what the report is saying, and that's when we watched the second plane hit the second tower live on national television. And it was heart-wrenching. It was heart-wrenching. And if I knew then what I know now, my heart might have broken even worse. Well, I was already depressed. I was already suffering from a lot of different ailments and a lot of different issues. So I spent that entire day watching that footage on that little tiny color television I had set above my computer monitor. I spent that time logged into whatever video game I was playing at the time, probably EverQuest. And I watched and I watched and I watched and I watched. And then I read on the internet. I read and I looked at the pictures and I studied. And for the next few months of my life, I was horrifically fascinated. I guess all of America was. But I was horrifically fascinated with those events, trying to make sense of them, trying to understand them, trying to figure out what had happened, why it had happened, who had done it. what was America's reaction. And in that period after that, we saw America come together in a way that we really haven't since. You know, Republican and Democrat set their differences aside, with most of the religions set ourselves aside, though, and I'll be entirely frank, even to this day, Islamic people are persecuted in this country. It's just how it is. It's unfortunate and it's sad, and most of us know better, but a few don't. And right after 9/11, very few of us made the distinction between Islamic and terrorist at that time. Most of us have been educated since then, but it was awful. It was awful. But it was good to see people come together. You know, no matter your faith, with a few exceptions, no matter your political alliance, with a few exceptions. And we got shit done in this country, and we did what we felt needed to be done, and we took care of business. And if you're under the age of 18 right now, you probably have some memory of 9/11. You know, if you're under the age of 20, you have some memory of 9/11, but you don't remember this. America, before that and after that, are two completely different things. You know, because before 9/11, we lived in a fairly nice America. We really did. You know, we had balanced the budget, we had taken care of business, we'd elected George Bush Jr. He was a kind of a lame president. He wasn't really doing anything. He was just kind of there. He was sword rattling when it came to talking about war with Iraq for no real reason. But other than that, I mean, the guy was tolerable, and certainly he got this handed to him, and I guess he did a fair job once this was thrown into his lap. But then we created the TSA, and we started harassing grandmothers at every airport in the country, and we wrote the Patriot Act, and now in America you can be arrested and held indefinitely without a warrant. Now in America it's illegal to protest. Now in America it's a different world. And I'm not saying it's a bad world. I'm still proud to be from the country that I'm from. I still love the place that I'm from. I'm still able to achieve great things here, and I'm doing my best to do so. But it's amazing that when we came together like that, when we put our differences aside and we declared war on the people that had harmed us, we decided to dismantle Al-Qaeda to try and make sure this never happened to us or anyone else again. When we got together to help the people and the families of the people that died in 9/11, it made me feel amazing. It made me feel patriotic. It made me feel strong. It made me love this country in a way that in all my years I'd never really loved it. You know? Because that's the America we all dream of. That's the America that we all want. This America that's strong and powerful and strikes back when necessary. The sleeping giant that we were taught about in our history books. Ready to just be the superpower that we need to be, and having the best army in the world, and wow. A Congress and a president that work together. And what have we become? 11 years later. 11 years later, we don't have those answers that we wanted from 9/11. We have most. We know who did it. We know why they did it. We know how they did it. You know, there's conspiracy theories about. The proof is pretty much there. You know, and but we've done so much to gut ourselves. We've done so much to gut our freedoms. We've done so much to and of course, I guess we killed Osama. But at the end of the day, the America that we could have been, had we stayed on that path, the America that we could have been, had we stayed together, had we worked hard to rebuild, to be better, to be stronger, is a dream again, you know? And that's really sad. And instead, we have this Tea Party, occupier, bickering, battling 1%, 99%, 53% bullshit. We're more divided than we've ever been. And that breaks my heart. And you, if you're under the age of 18, you've never lived in an America like ours, you know? You lived in a good country, don't get me wrong. You lived in a fantastic country. One that's ailing right now, that's no arguing that. But so close and yet so far. And God bless the people that, and I don't really believe in God, so I guess I shouldn't say that, but I feel so bad for the people that were affected so heavily that day. I feel so bad for the soldiers, that American soldiers and foreign soldiers that lost their lives because of the results of those 59 few, I believe it was 59, I'm going to check, that 19 hijackers, 19, and I guess 20, if you include Osama. Because of the action of those 20 people, how many thousands upon thousands of lives have been lost. So it's a day not to forget. But when I remember it today, not only do I remember the people that died, not only do I remember the people that suffered, not only do I remember the people that perpetrated this act and making sure that they had it coming to them, but I remember that American dream. And I just wonder, if America can ever be the same again. We'll see.